Welcome to our 5 on 5. We're pleased to have Congressman Greg Walden here in studio. Congressman, thanks for coming in.
It's good to be with you again.
All right, so tell us, U.S. Bankruptcy Court allowing Harry and David to end their pension plan. Should they be allowed to do that?
Yeah, I think they should. And the good news is nearly every pensioner is covered fully under the caps. So I think it's a win for the employees. It's actually a win for restoration of the company, getting it out of bankruptcy. And those who have pensions, virtually every single one of them will be fully paid for.
Mm-hmm. You talked about in a press conference earlier today regarding federal forest land, how we really need to make a change there that could potentially help our economy. Right. Why is it so difficult to initiate change?
Well, anytime you go to change federal law, it's difficult, as we've witnessed very painfully on the debt ceiling vote and some of the other things. But it's needed. We have got to transform this economy and get people back to work. We need to be able to utilize America's great resources, whether they're our oil and gas resources or in our part of the world, our forestry resources, which are clearly renewable. You cut a tree, you can replant one, and it grows back. And so I think this is the time to change these laws to get America back on its feet and stop having everything shut down and turned off and people on unemployment. There's a better way to manage our forests. There's a better way to manage our economy, and the federal government needs to be a positive partner in that process.
Mm-hmm. Well, moving to the debt ceiling, as you mentioned, would you call that a success for Republicans and for America?
You know, I don't think it's about Republicans or Democrats. I think it was about finally beginning to turn Washington in a better direction, away from just automatically borrowing more money and never thinking about the consequences and costs on the next generation and our economy. This is the first time we've really done dollar-for-dollar offsets. So you have to go cut what you're going to borrow. If you did that over 10 years, you'd balance the budget. Mm-hmm. If every time we went out and borrowed, we had to cut an equal amount, you'd eventually get the federal budget balanced. Now, I think we can do better than that. I think this is just a start, but it's enormous change in the way they think in Washington.
Yeah, why now? I mean, because this is the debt's grown for as far back as I've been alive, I think. I forget.
No, it has. And I would just say that now is because it's never been this large, and we made it an issue. Now, some people say, oh, why'd you do that? You know, in the past, it was just an up or down vote, and nobody paid attention to it. That was the underlying problem. Nobody paid attention to it. And so as a result, it just kept getting increased and increased and increased as if it was just automatic. And we were indeed on automatic spending and deficit spending. And so this changed the whole dynamic because we said, no, we're going to require dollar-for-dollar offsets. So in other words, we actually made it better than that. If you're going to raise $1 in debt ceiling, you're going to have to cut more than $1 in spending. And it's over a 10-year window. And so it's a lot like having a loan on a house or a car or something. And basically what we're saying is you're going to have to figure out how to pay off that loan in 10 years.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Much more with Congressman in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with Congressman Greg Walden. I want to move away from the debt ceiling stuff, but first, got to ask you this. New numbers out today. Nearly 60% of Americans have an unfavorable view of Republicans. It's an all-time high. Does that surprise you?
No, not really. I mean, when you watch what's happening in Washington, I think Americans are pretty fed up with both parties and with Congress in general. And I understand that. We're making some really tough decisions, and it's not pleasant, and it's all on public display as you negotiate these things out with people that, frankly, have very different philosophies. The last election, though, was an overwhelming watershed election that put Republicans in charge of the House for one reason, and that was to try and get a hold of runaway government takeovers and spending and to try and get America working again. We've been focused on the part that's the hardest, frankly, is convincing the president and others, you got to do something about this deficit spending. And we've done that to a certain extent. We've changed that. But we have to get back on the issue of creating jobs. I was a small business owner. I've created jobs. I've built business. I know what it's like to sign the front of a payroll check. We need more people in public office who get that, who understand that it's the private sector jobs that we need to create in this country. And that gets back to what I'm trying to do on the forestry work. It's what I'm trying to do in Central Oregon to help Facebook double its size there and other companies to come in by changing some federal designations on Bowman Dam. It's what we're trying to do in the Dalles, Oregon, just to let Walmart build. I mean, they are trapped in the nightmare of regulation with the Corps of Engineers and others. It just makes no sense. You got private investment ready to come in, and you got the government being an obstacle all too often. We have to change that, because what Americans really want is they want us to help get the obstacles out of the way so we can grow jobs in the private sector side, get people back to work. Nobody's satisfied with the process we're in, most of all me.
Yeah, and what do Americans have to look forward to right now?
Well, I think because of the depth of the problem we're facing, because virtually everything else has been tried, it's actually an exciting time to be in government in the sense that people are ready for big changes. They are ready to see us fix these problems once and for all for the long term, not for the next election. They really are optimistic about the need to change things. And you see around the world the problems these other governments are facing are not too dissimilar, and frankly not too dissimilar from what some companies even in this valley have faced. Legacy costs they can no longer afford, business models that don't work anymore in the new technology world we're in. You just have to change things up. Government's always the slowest and last to get the message, and it's about to get the message. So I think there's actually an interesting time to serve in public office, to say we can do it better. We can still provide seniors with health care, the future generation of seniors. If you're 55 and over, this isn't about you because we're going to guarantee your benefits. This is about what do you do for the next generation to make sure they have access to Medicare and health care? What do you do about their retirement? How do you restructure the tax code to bring money back to the United States as opposed to being kept offshore? How do you get manufacturing jobs going again here? What are the impediments? And we're trying to knock those down one after another.
Well, appreciate you making time for us, Congressman.
Good to be with you.
See you.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.